Hey guys, welcome back to Ready Facts. Today we have another amazing story on Ready Facts. Caught my 20 female wife cheating on me, 24 male, a couple weeks, shows little to no remorse and keeps phone away. My wife and I have been together for 2 years, married for a year this October. 2 weeks ago I caught her cheating on me. I had caught her texting other guys previously but forgave her and moved on. Since catching her, she's shown little to no remorse, and guards her phone and texts even though she claims she's no longer talking to anyone. In all honesty, a week after I caught her physically cheating on me, I caught her texting some other guy. I've done everything I can to try and reason with her, get her perspective, why, how she could do what she's doing to me, but it never goes anywhere. While this situation might sound cut and dry, I still love and care for her dearly. She doesn't have a support system outside of myself and my family. No one. She was living with her mom before we moved in with each other, only 3 months after we met. She was emotionally and physically abusive towards my wife and had kicked her out before she came to live with me. Her stepfather, who does not live with her mother, is unable to support her or even take her in even if she was to pay him rent. He's currently raising her brother and sister, aged. Her mother is basically a textbook welfare queen and loves and leaves men with her children. I more or less forced her to end pretty much all her toxic relationships. And because of that I feel guilty for dismantling what little of a support system she actually had. And that leaves me here. I love and care for someone who has no respect for our marriage. I'll be honest, it's not all her, for slacked in our relationship, I'm not perfect, but I've never cheated, abused, or hurt her. She's gotten her driver's license, a car, a stable job with regular hours she actually enjoys, stable and healthy relationships with me and my family. I am happy she is better off than she was. But I know if I just ended and we split she would throw all that away. I've threatened divorce more times than I can count, which I know is probably the worst thing I could do. She then either physically lashes out towards me or threatens suicide. I'm tired of fighting with her. I love her and just don't want her to do what she's doing. I want to be with her, I want her to be happy and healthy. She claims to still love me, be with me. But then continues to text other guys while barely attempting to hide? Part of me wishes the guy I caught her with was rich and could provide her a stable, loving environment. I know that someone would and could take advantage of her. I thought maybe she's bipolar. I know I showed signs of borderline personality disorder and depression around 19, 20. I was mentally and emotionally unstable. I'm just trying to think of things that might explain her behavior. Maybe she just needs a good therapist. We're living with my parents. We were planning on moving out on our own this December. My mother found out about it all and basically said I'm free to stay but she needs to go. I can't just divorce her and kick her out. Update. In between taking time to read most of these comments, I've already sat down with her and a third party and discussed our pending divorce. I've had the paperwork, just never confronted her with it. The third party was a close friend. She remained seemingly calm throughout it all, and everything is more or less set in motion. The third party was necessary to keep her from lashing out and even more so for me to actually follow through. There's not much in terms of assets and no children, and we've agreed to go the uncontested route with no lawyers. To answer and or address a few comments, no, we're not Mormon, and yes, obvious mistakes were made, marriage after a year being the most obvious. I can't really argue or defend myself when it comes to the doormat analogies as they're all pretty much spot on. Objectively, I saw it coming, red flags and all. Even now I realize I sound like a jackass asking for advice on how I should handle this situation that is pretty much cut and dry. I don't know what I was hoping to achieve by posting here. I don't know. I've had friends in the past I've lost to poor decisions they've made, and it's SHTTY to see someone crash and burn. The difference being I married that person, that being my personal poor decision. I knew this was going to happen and I'm as responsible as she is for putting up with it. I'm not comfortable with term white knight, I'd much rather prefer to call the dumbass. It's like you know what to do, what makes sense, what's right, but you make excuses and roll with it thinking things will just fix themselves. In the same way she can't explain why she cheated, I can't really explain why I want her to be okay after this is all said and done. I'm usually vengeful when it comes to people crossing me, but even now I don't really harbor any type of hate towards her. I don't know. Thanks for the advice. Story 2. Wife cheated on a work trip. Not sure how to feel. My spouse, 33 female, and I, 34 male, have been married for 12 years, and together for 15. We have 4 children, and have had many struggles with raising a large family, but nothing out of the ordinary. To make ends meet, I took a job out of town. I worked 3 weeks at a time and would be home for a week before leaving again. I did this for about a year. My wife was dealing with raising 4 kids and holding down a full-time career simultaneously, and I knew it was a lot to put on her shoulders. I was just doing whatever I could to pay the bills, so to speak. As the months went by, it was clearly weighing on her heavily. She asked me to come home frequently, and I told her I would love nothing more than to do so, but unless I found a job back home that would pay close to the same, I couldn't. Near the end of last year, it was clear to both of us that we were struggling with this. I felt intense loneliness and guilt for leaving my family alone so much. She was also lonely, but had also started to feel disconnected from me. She was given an opportunity to work for 4 weeks in another state, as part of training for a promotion. We were both excited about it. After that, she came home, and things were back to normal. It was about a month after that, when I had come home for a week, that she told me she can't do this anymore, and I need to stay home. She said she couldn't hear me being gone again, and we needed to fix our marriage. She basically said she didn't feel loved, and that my refusal to stop working out of town was because I wanted to run away from her and the kids. She said that 2 close relatives of ours who were also her friends had been encouraging her to leave me, because I didn't want her anymore and I would never change. I agreed to stay, and found a decent job back home. Things seemed better than they had ever been. At least it seemed that way until I looked through her phone about a month later. I was looking for old texts to really see what our relatives had told her, and found evidence that she had cheated on me. I confronted her about it, and she admitted that there was a coworker when she was working out of town who she slept with the night before she left. He had been hitting on her and complimenting her, and helped her at work. She told me she felt unloved, and in a broken marriage, and he made her feel like she wasn't worthless. After she slept with him, I know she had something close to a crush on him for a few weeks to a month, but he didn't return any sort of interest. That was when she told me we have to fix our marriage. In the time between that and when I discovered the affair, we were really happy, and it felt like we finally had the relationship of our dreams. So of course it made finding out about all of this even harder to deal with. She told me she regretted it more than anything in her life, was planning on taking that secret to her grave to protect me and her, and wanted to try harder than ever to prove how devoted to me she is. I've been devastated, of course, but for a month now she has really been proving that she means it. She also is willing to consent to having spyware on her phone if I want, and we always know each other's location. My question is, should I just forgive her? How am I supposed to feel about this? I know for a fact that she felt like I didn't want to be in a marriage with her, and she thought I cheated on her as well before that happened. Now that she knows how wrong she was, she feels guilty, but wants to rebuild. I think I want to as well. I just want advice on how I should handle this situation. Edit. I wanted to clarify something about the affair. This was a coworker at the location she was at while out of town. He doesn't work with her here at home. They didn't flirt or text about their relationship after she came back home. I understand that he was manipulating her, and it worked. The crush was mostly my interpretation of how she felt. We were still apart from each other for the following 3 weeks, and I think she liked to think that it was more than what it was because she still thought we weren't going to make it. She knew it was never going to be a relationship.